live on YouTube and see if I can get Facebook to kick off here.
That's Victor.
That's our alarm clock. All right, looks like pages are going live, or at least trying to here. So should be up and running. All right. Hey, look at that. Both went off without a hitch. Very nice. Okay. Let me pull this out of the way. All right. Well, hello and happy Thursday, everybody.
Hello,
How's
hello.
everyone doing today? All right. Hey, big night tonight. We got special guests on tonight, and very interesting. I think very dynamic as well. We have a company on tonight by the name of Retro Go-Go, and they're going to be joining us tonight. We're going to sit in on and learn a little bit about their company and some of the products that they're producing, and one product in particular that we're really excited about amongst many, but one that reason why we're here talking about it tonight. So, so we have Doug is joining us from there. So, real quick, thanks, Doug. Appreciate you coming on tonight and
glad to be here.
Us. Yeah, awesome. We got Victor stopping in to saying hello. Yeah, so great, Vic. Thanks for hopping on there and saying hi. And so we're going to showcase, get into a little bit of your background, definitely a little bit of the company, and then some of the products and things, and what we might hope to see, and perhaps even when or where we're going to be able to see it. But real quick, right before we jump into that, I want to just bring up some information regarding some of the many JAWS things that have been popping up over the recent couple weeks or even months with everything going on with JAWS 50th. We just have a lot of kind of cogs kind of in motion and moving and working real quick here. So let me pull that up real quick. I'm going to put a quick word out there for JAWS the musical. So Mike, you told me that this was coming back around and kind of coming to fruition. Is this so? JAWS the musical. This is going to be coming up. When is it starting, Mike? Do you know?
This is playing now at the New York Fringe, formerly the New York Fringe Festival. I guess they thought it was cooler if they dropped the word festival. It plays for another week. It's like been a play in the making for the last 20 years. I've got pictures. I've got an interview with the composer in the book coming up. It's just a fun show. It's about a woman who falls in love with a shark.
Right? And is this, Mike? I did stumble across some clips of some different JAWS the musical plays. Is this? I'm assuming it would be the same thing. You said it's been around for quite a while.
Yeah, this is not Bruce. This is not the show that went to Seattle and sank.
No.
This is just it started out as a couple of skits, then it was a one-act play, and they kept adding it to it. But right now it runs exactly an hour because your shows can only be an hour at the New York Fringe, because then you have 15 minutes to get off stage and get the other people set up. But it looks like it's a fun show. They do have a Facebook page with some clips on it, just JAWS the musical.
Yeah, and there's some information on here for you guys. If you hop on the Facebook page, you just punch in JAWS the musical. This is what's going to come up as far as information and ordering tickets, and they've got a little promo code here, so you get a little bit of a discount if you get on there and punch that in when you get your tickets. So check it out. It does look pretty interesting, and like I said, I've seen what I think is a clip or two of just simply JAWS the musical of different renditions, just to maybe give you a little bit of an idea. But looks like fun, especially some in an hour. Some you can go definitely catch, have a good time. It's not tying up, an entire evening. So very cool.
Yeah,
very nice.
If you're in the New York or New Jersey area, head on over.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, awesome. Well,
hi to James and Mark on Facebook.
All right, James and Mark on Facebook join us, and we also got Robert chime in and join us, saying, "Hey guys, can't attend tonight, but I'm glad to say that I'll be on next Thursday. Have a great stream." So, thanks, Robert. Don't forget, guys, if you miss it, we're over on Mayor Vaughn Productions over on YouTube. So if any miss it, you can go and catch it whenever you want. Everything is cataloged over. It doesn't get advertised much, but it is cataloged. So feel free to check it out. All right. Okay. Well, let's talk a little bit about retro a go go. So
Sure.
so Doug, first thing I want to do is I want to pull up your website and so we give us a little bit of background about retro go go, and perhaps a little bit of background about you as well.
Sure. Sure. Well, Retro Go Go started by my wife, Kirsten, who, sorry, she can't be here tonight, but sends her best. 20 years ago, she was pretty burnt out with the corporate thing. As she was into marketing and product development. She worked at toy companies. She worked at Ford for a while, a bunch of different companies. She's kind of burnt out with the corporate thing and wanted to try her hand at something more creative, her own business. So I think we took $100. I was working a full-time product development job, so I had my own thing going on. And she took $100, made some jewelry using some. I collect a lot of old vintage paper. She took these old magazine covers from the 20s and 30s and shrunk them down into necklaces and started making a whole table full of this stuff. And a friend of ours suggested she take them to a rockabilly show that was in Indianapolis, and she went there with this table full of stuff and sold out of all of it over the weekend. And we were kind of off to the races. She just kind of kept a little more and building and growing, and it kind of evolved from it started out with T-shirts and belt buckles, a lot of metal stuff, cigarette cases, wallet cases, drinking flasks, everything with vintage retro style artwork on it. And some years ago, our manufacturer for the metal work was closing down. We just got a message like, we're going out of business. So it's like, okay, we got to reinvent ourselves. And luckily we had an idea for these. I had taken, I always wanted to take kids' Halloween masks, the old vac form Ben Cooper ones, if you remember. There was even a Jaws one in the 80s.
I've got one in my basement. Yeah.
I wanted to blow it up to like 2 feet tall. I said, I wanted to see those as like wall decorations, as Halloween decorations. And around this time, we'd already been in development for a couple of years. So we're like, let's put all our chips on this crazy idea, because it's very different from what we were doing. And make a long story short, when we first got them in, it was kind of like we didn't have customers for it or anything. We're like, oh my God, what did we do? And because it was kind of crickets. And Pee Wee Herman blogged about him. Somehow he saw our posts, blogged about our masks. He showed his Pee Wee, Ben Cooper that they made for Pee Wee Herman back in the 80s. And we were at a little show here in Detroit, and our phones were blowing up with orders. It was just order. And our whole company kind of went to the next level and expanded. And we're much more of a gifts and collectibles company. We've licensed with Universal with the Monsters, General Mills with Cereal Monsters. Over the years, Betty Page, Bela Lugosi. We've made masks, we've made wall decorations, and we're getting into ornaments. I've got a few samples here on my desk. Like, I don't know if you can see, but we're bringing back. This is coming in next month. A Betty Page hula bobber with she's got a rum bottle and a tiki mug. But we kind of brought back the old dashboard bobbers. We licensed with EC Comics. We did a whole series of ornaments with the witches and stuff. If you're familiar with the old comics.
Oh yeah.
Halloween figures like the Halloween Devil Creep characters, just cool decorations. There's the Lagoon Creep. So
that's pretty cool. Nice.
Some of them we do license, and some of them we just do, that we're inspired by, and that brings us to the shark. Last year, I know I'm a big fan of Jaws and was looking ahead going, next year, holy cow, it's 75 to 2025. This is going to be the 50th anniversary.
Sure.
So I'm like, we got to come out with a great white, ornament here. And you're seeing it there on the screen. I've got one here too. But we kind of distorted them a little bit where like the front jaw and head body, if you can see there,
Mm-hmm.
Is kind of a bit distorted. So you can get like kind of the movie poster look there. But
Oh, I see that. Yeah.
he's got kind of a little shorter body, but we did a nice job. He's got the nice bloody gums, and they did a nice job, if you can see all the scrapes and scratches. So he really came out. I'm really thrilled with how he came out. And it's not too heavy. It's a good size. So if you want to hang him from your rear view mirror or around your office or even on the tree, I'm pretty happy with how he came out. So
very nice. I even see the jowls from Bruce himself, kind of a little bit there in the side, which is interesting because oftentimes when people want to do a shark or a Jaws-ish type shark, they usually do away with that. Taking away from what you would consider the realism of the shark, but it's the realism of Bruce. And so that's pretty cool. Yeah.
I had to tip my hat to Bruce. I wanted to get that snout looking familiar. So and we did a cool box that's kind of inspired by, without just a nice look if you want to put it on the shelf. And then for when we did the pre-order on these, we did a nice like the first 100 orders, we did a Quint's Amity Island. We did a print you could get with it that was thrown into every order. So kind of a fun fishing thing. We also did gummies, body part gummies. So we just had a lot of fun with playing with the whole theme of Jaws and some of the quotes from the movie, and just I don't know. And I let my creativity fly on it. So I just love the movie so darn much. It's always, whenever it comes on, how do you not stop and watch it?
I was going to say, and the depth that you went into with details, not just with the shark itself, but like you just said, the promotion. And I pulled some of those pictures up there with the shark victim parts and your sign. Yeah, there's got to be some love for that outside of simply trying to advertise a product. So
oh yeah,
you're definitely a big Jaws fan. Give me a little bit of your Jaws background.
Well, I'm old enough, believe it or not. I saw it in the theater. My dad took me. I'm trying to think. I must have been 7 or 8, probably way too young for Jaws. But I'm a Gen X kid, so I saw a lot of inappropriate films like 10 and stuff like that with my parents. Talk about wanting to crawl under the seat. But yeah, saw Jaws, and I came home and I think I told the whole, related the entire movie, acted the whole thing out to my mom and sister, who refused to go to the movie. But from then on, it was just like, it was just, even at that young age, it was just so great, so mind blowing. And then, seeing it over the years on video and TV, and, of course, went and saw Jaws 2, and got an original Jaws movie poster. And yeah, I'm a big film buff as it is. I've collected posters and magazines, and the other part of who I am is I'm an illustrator and designer and artist. Even when I'm not working at Retro Go-Go, I'm creating alternative movie posters and portraits. And I don't know if you guys can see this one in the bag or not, but this is one I did for my brother-in-law.
We have Solo here. Oh, it's a great piece of Quint. Wow.
Maybe let me pull it out of the sleeve here real quick so you guys can see it without the on it. But very inspired by Drew Struzan. Did the art for so many original films, Star Wars and Indiana Jones, and so it's kind of, I kind of use his.
Oh wow, that's a great wow.
Airbrush and acrylics and pastel pencils, all that stuff I usually work in. So
wow.
Yeah,
very,
so
that's
kind of what I do. That's what I work on when I'm not at Retro Go-Go. I do my own. You can kind of see I'm in my studio right now. There's some paintings and stuff behind me that on my easel.
Very nice. All right, let me bring it back out there. Wow, I got to say that's pretty impressive. Definitely not an artist, but the fact you're bringing all those different medias in between the airbrushing, penciling, all that kind of stuff. That's pretty impressive. I've messed
Thank
around with some airbrushes in my time, and that's not the easiest thing. And you can't erase it, so it's it
you.
gets a little
Right, right. Well,
ugly. But
the longer you work with it, you kind of learn that I don't know, you can fix just about anything. It's kind of like you just you work around the materials, you work around the tools. I'm going on over 40 years now of doing it, so you kind of get a good handle on it.
sure, yeah, very cool. I had a little bit of background, as a kid, and I would imagine perhaps you can relate to, and it might even you as a kid growing up when we were really into building car models. Remember
Yeah.
doing that as you go,
Oh
the
yeah.
classic NPC and AMTs and Ertl kits, all this stuff, and really got into that for a time. A bunch of neighbors' kids, and then when I was older, I always dabbled a little bit. I have a car background, so got into doing some painting and stuff like that. And of course, the airbrush came along, and got back into doing some modeling as a young adult as an extra job, working for a guy who built models professionally. And so, yeah, I messed around quite a bit with dual stage airbrushes, and it's an educated hand. So I gotta hand it off to you. It's way more than just simply drawing that in there. So pretty impressive.
Right.
Very impressive.
Right. And I got to say, modeling, I know that's something that, it's still kind of hanging out there, but I think it's probably for older people more than any kids picking it up. But man, modeling,
Yeah.
I credit that so much of that with giving me the ability to, so much of my creating, when you're creating products, is you got to see it in a 3D space in your head. And I think
Right.
so much of that I picked up from putting together model kits. You look at the flat instruction sheet of line art, and you've got to find the part and put it together, and you're kind of, it trains your brain to see in 3 dimensions. And I've used that skill my entire life.
Wow. Yeah. It's hard to pass that kinesthetic experience off to using your hands, and how much you learn, how many
Yeah.
people learn that way. To be honest with you, you can learn auditorily, you can learn visually, but kinesthetics is in my mind where it's at.
Yeah. Right.
You're
Right.
using so much more of the senses. So yeah,
Well,
pretty
and
impressive.
you were talking about putting together model car kits, but then you went into putting together, fooling around with larger
Automotive.
size cars, right? So it's
Absolutely,
like kind
absolutely.
of in all those, I am sure all those little parts you're putting together, you're learning like, oh, this is what a brake drum, and this is where the wheel, and this can, you're doing it in miniature, but then the next thing you're an adult and you're doing kind of
Sure.
the same thing.
You learn it all, except you can't replace stuff for like $9 when you buy a whole new model kit,
No.
because you didn't do a good job the first time, right?
Right. Yes. Yeah, that's the downsides of it. Yep. But you made a lot of mistakes on the little ones, right? That's where you make your mistakes on the model kit, so you don't screw up the full size ones.
So,
Sure.
Doug, this poster that you gave away to a bonus to the first 100, is that also going to be available for sale later on down the road?
No, those 2 things were exclusive. Sometimes we just do exclusives for those pre-orders, because it's almost like when we do pre-orders, it's like a kind of our own Kickstarter. So people are buying into a pre-order thing, and they're not going to get it for 6 months. So we like to, thank those people for helping us fund the product with exclusives. So I wanted to show those, but yeah, unfortunately, next time we do a shark, jump on it early, because you never know. You never know what our exclusives will be. And hey, as long as we're talking about Retro Go-Go, I wanted to let everybody watching, listening, we put a special promo, Jaws 30, when you go to Retro Go-Go, and whatever you get right now, if it's in stock, put in the promo code Jaws 30, and you'll get 30% off your order at Retro Go-Go.
Well, I'm gonna pull that up here on the screen for everyone to see. So Jaws 30.
Jaws 30. Yeah.
Promo
code. That code's working now. So if you want to get a shark, or you want to get any of our other prints or patches or ornaments, or you name it, Jaws 30.
All right, there you go. I'll run that. See if I can run that across the bottom of the screen here for you. So there you go, guys. So if you hop under Retro Go-Go, there you go. Jaws 30 promo code. That's what you're going to punch in, and
just for you guys, your listeners. So
That's incredible.
We'll let that run for the next couple of weeks, something like that. Okay, so whenever anybody watches this, we'll keep it open for a while.
That's awesome.
Perfect.
That's awesome. So you were talking a little bit earlier about whatever with model making and a little bit of background. So I think a lot of people maybe don't know or quite realize what all goes in from where you start with that basic idea. You said, I wanted to do a little homage to Jaws, everything, to where it goes from that premise up to that finished product that we're looking at here. Maybe give us a little bit of background on that.
A thumbnail sketch, and that's how it starts, is with a thumbnail sketch. I have an idea, and I start doing small drawings, small doodles, and trying to get proportions, how's this going to look? How is this tail going to bend? How do you? And then you've also got to be thinking about it's an ornament, so you got to how are we going to do these teeth? Often with resin, they can be a big clumpy mess. I wanted to, we went back and forth on that a lot, but start with sketches, do a tighter drawing. I might do more than one view of it. Then I work with a 3D sculptor who's really great and can, I used to have to really be really tight with my drawings. Well, he can kind of extrapolate from my roughs, and we kind of go back and forth in 3D in a 3D space because he builds it all out. And then from there, we send it to the factory. Once we get a sculpt we really like, send it to the factory. They run a sample of it. And from that sample, I take those photos and I do a full color break on it, how I want it to look, how, I want the blood in the creases, but not too bright. And, you got to spec all your shades of color. They work up a sample of it in full color. Then the factory sends it to us. If we're happy with it, it's a go. If there's changes, we've got to make fixes, but we've got a sample then that we can start photographing and using for promos, and start taking orders on it and place the order to go into production. And then they match that sample as closely as possible. So far, everyone I've opened up, they really came out nice. They took their time on the paint. The teeth, and this one we had to do, was actually a little bit different material. Just the insert of the teeth had to be kind of a little softer resin piece that they inserted in because you didn't want a real easy breakage, with small parts like that. And, you're not dealing in plastic. So resin is kind of can be fragile if it's chipped or dropped or something. So, yeah, this one, it's deceptively, it's simple looking, but there's quite a bit of engineering and figuring out how deep can you make the mouth, and you want to watch that weight. So if it does go on a tree branch or something, it doesn't weigh 10 pounds, and so that it's kind of lighter inside to keep the weight down. So yeah, there's a lot of work that goes into it, and then they make up a foam box that they do numerous drop tests for shipping, so that and does the piece hold together. And once you've got your styrofoam and it's holding together in one piece, now you've got your box, and they send you a die, and then you design the box art, and you're getting close to having an actual finished product.
Very nice.
It's a few months from the idea to getting sample, and that's moving along pretty good,
Sure.
And then probably 6 months for actual production and shipping it to us from wherever we're getting it made in Asia. It's usually about a month on the water, and before it gets to a port and gets shipped to us to distribute.
Wow. A lot in the making. Very cool.
It's a
very cool.
It's a process.
And obviously we're getting a condensed version of that too. I'm sure just the time that goes into each one of those steps.
And when you do have a licensor involved, that's a whole nother level of approvals and back and forth and changes and tweaks and all that stuff.
Sure. We got a couple of people commenting. So Victor was just commenting a second ago, said Jaws, some very impressive. Janie's on. She's watching, saying, "Oh my God, love this." Another comment: "This is a great size to hang on a tree for sure." Mark Ames also hopping on, saying hello, and pretty impressed with what you see. And Yeah. So, and it is obviously his appearance of being an ornament, but doesn't look like it's definitely not limited to that. In fact, I've got a little video clip that you sent along here, kind of
Mm.
maybe show you guys a little bit more than just two-dimensional here image. So we'll just kind of let this run in the background for you there of it.
Yes.
There. It kind of highlights some of the details though too. As you go through and do that, which is
Right.
nice. And again, you hang on the tree, but then when you're done with the tree, or if you don't use the tree, you put it on the desk, or hang it from a rearview mirror.
Yeah. Or
Or
scare the hell out of your little sister in the pool,
that always works. That's like bonus points for that one. There.
Right. Yes. Speaking of that, my sister as much as I loved Jaws, it gave her a total. I mean, she couldn't even look at a picture of a shark. Even to this day, she gets very. There are people that are really freaked out by sharks, and I think it's because of Jaws, But there was a poster insert in the National Geographic that was a full, around that time, everything was Jaws crazy, right?
Oh, sure.
And yeah, they of course did a coverage on it and inserted a poster, and we just laying it on the floor in our bedroom. I remember jumping from bed to bed, in fear and terror of the shark.
That ruined a lot of people for a long time. My wife and I just had this discussion again. I mean, we go up there usually like every other summer, sometimes every summer, and the how the great white population has come back up there. It's just coming back by leaps and bounds, and because of the seal population, it's coming back by leaps and bounds and protected, and so it's becoming extremely prevalent. And the amount of the sharks, I want to say within 10 years ago, was something like they would hope to see like a couple throughout the season. Now they know they have well over 200 that visit, and I want to say their numbers rank upwards of 400. So we still have that conversation about why I'm not that big on going in the water up there.
Yes.
Some things are hard to shake,
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Before, Nate, it would be too ironic if you or I were to get eaten by sharks, because that would lead off the news. Jaws fan eaten by shark. Yeah.
Yeah, it'd make a great subject for the next podcast, though.
Yeah.
Wait.
Just your empty chair. We could relate the story.
Nate, when you jump off the Jaws bridge, take your microphone with you.
That's right. Yeah, and my GoPro. I'll put the chest mount on. Just hope he gets my legs right, so you get good coverage there. That's right.
Right. Hey,
Very cool.
On the subject of how crazy, growing up in that era when Jaws came out and how popular it was. Let me grab something right over here that I just happened to come across. 1 second.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's always great to hear other people's connections to the whole, to the movie, to the popularity, and even to the stuff that scared the crap out of you. Without a doubt.
Here's an oddity. I'm getting ready for one of the many things I do. I've got all kinds of vintage magazines I was telling you about, and toys and all kinds of stuff. So I'm doing a show here out in Michigan, not too far away. I'm getting stuff together to vend at it. A bunch of friends do a toy show. And going through a box of old comics, and I hadn't seen this one in forever, but this is one I got when I was a kid. I don't know if you can see that, but Jaws was so big. Yeah, you had even Spider-Man being attacked by.
Oh, nice! Wow, it's an original suit. Jeez.
Oh, yeah, it's Electric Company. I was surprised when I looked it up that this thing actually goes for 40, 60 bucks, something like that. I think because of the Jaws crossover, but it was that year after Jaws came out, it was. I mean, even Fonzie jumping the shark. I mean, it was there was sharks. We went shark crazy.
I'm pretty sure it made its way into a Superman comic, and then you had
pulling on his cape, right? I remember.
Yeah. And Batman was a little bit before his time, shooting the shark with shark repellent back in the 60s.
Shark repellent in the movie, yeah. It was a movie the bat shark repellent too, not just shark repellent.
Yeah. But all the knockoff movies, and I mean, it was so the sharks were everywhere in 75, 76. Yeah.
They definitely were. yeah, it's what got me. What got me going. I first caught it on ABC. I didn't see it in the theater. It was a little on the young side, but I caught it when it went on ABC, and it was everywhere. I mean, I can remember. I can remember I was in first grade, and I'd go to the library, and at the time, not only was sharks in vogue, but then people going out and hunting sharks, and so you started putting out these books of
Yeah.
like terrors of the deep and killers,
Right.
of the blue, and I'm in first grade going to the library and taking books out, and then they're calling my mom, going, "Did you see the books your son's taking out?"
Yeah, but those books are fascinating. With there'd always be that picture of like the giant, bones of
the May jaws and
with like 10 people sitting inside of it or something.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw that book too. I'm sure I took out the same ones out of the library. Yeah.
Oh yeah. 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 Some things just stick with you. That's awesome.
But you guys have probably talked about it. But when I was younger, it was about the shark. When you get older, it's the three lead guys in and their conversations with each other and the dialogue. That's what to me it brings you back over and over again, is those three in their three different archetypes and their interactions, and you really appreciate it. As you become an adult, their interactions with the townspeople, the mayor, all that stuff. It's just the shark is there, but it probably could be another kind of monster.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's exactly what you said, and when you look at it, total runtime of the shark was something like what, under 3 minutes, somewhere around there in the entire movie. Yeah.
Is that counting the barrel shots or without the barrel shots?
No, just the shark itself. I want to say, yeah, it's not much, and so you've got four characters. You've got the shark, and you're right. When you're a kid, it's all about the shark and scaring the crap out of you and the gore. And then you start to get into it from the story making and the movie process. And you got four characters. You got Bruce. You got obviously Quint, Hoover, and Brody, and then you've got the town of Amity, who is by far a character as well. With the reaction of the people and how things are done, and just the layout, the fact that it's on an island, a quiet island at that. Yeah. Really, really kind of interesting, and just amazing the way they pull that off. And they keep talking about do a remake and not do a remake, and I just leave well enough alone, because you're not going to reproduce that kind of a reaction from people.
Well, and it was those three actors too. Dreyfuss and Scheider and
Shaw.
Yeah, those three guys. You're never gonna replace those guys. They're just who they are, how they interacted with each other. It's like when they did Casablanca on TV on ABC, and they you got the guy from Dukes of Hazzard, right? Roy Schneider. What is his name? It's just like no, don't do this, don't do it. I just can't imagine any three actors today interacting, and it would be a pale comparison.
Because you look at the list of actors that were offered it or turned it down, or Peter Benchley's wish list was Paul Newman and Robert Redford, and Spielberg wanted Lee Marvin, and it's just like you got everything fell into place.
Yeah, there was
You I can't imagine other actors doing that.
Yeah, even replacing one of them would have. Yeah. I don't know if it would have the last impact.
The chemistry of the three. Yeah.
Would have thrown off the entire dynamic without a doubt. Yeah. Very cool. Well, how about, why don't we check out your website? Maybe you want to hit on a couple of the other products you have on there, and maybe kind of pull some of that in.
Sure. Yeah.
What we got?
Do you want to pull it up, or do you just want me to talk about it?
Yeah, I thought I would. Hold on. Let me pull this guy down, and I'll pull up the website and kind of let me know, anything specifically you want me to hit here. Or pull.
Sure. I mean, there's the gift wrap. We've got, that's something that we came out with at Christmas and expanded on. The Old Witch, as I mentioned, we licensed with EC Comics. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Tales from the Crypt and the Vault of Horror and all that, but we're licensing with the family that that made the original comics in the 50s. They've been in almost continual reprint since then. Taschen is coming out with another new big giant volumes of the stories. I mentioned the Hula Betty, showed you that. Blankets, that's something else. You bring them to the beach. We do our plush blankets, all kinds of cool. And again, all of our products, has got all kinds of vintage. There's our Bela Lugosi blanket using all kinds of Bela Lugosi movie posters, drive-in movie blanket. Those are great for whether it's winter and it's cold, or you want summer and you want something to throw on the beach, or go on the grass at concerts or outdoor art shows, that kind of stuff.
Or go to the drive-in. Yeah.
Go to the drive-in. Yeah. You got a blanket, and especially for the cool summer nights. So we've got all kinds of different styles of that. We also get into embroidered iron-on patches of really cool graphic visual stuff. Lots of fun vinyl stickers. There's some patches, again, with EC and Halloween stuff and horror stuff and vintage pinups and you name it. I mean, I've been into, both my wife and we've been into retro stuff. I mentioned, since I was a kid, I was collecting comic books. Then I started collecting movie posters and vintage toys. And, I just kind of live in the 20s to the 60s, maybe, with my love of pop culture of the last century. I just love the graphics and visuals, and it kind of informs my own personal artwork, and also the art that we do for Retro Metal Signs is something else that we got into. All kinds of different art and visuals on those. The other big category we do is our prints and posters. We've got a couple hundred different prints and posters, from 12 by 18 size to poster size. All kinds of stuff to decorate, whether it's your office or your workspace, you name it. A lot of this is some of my original paintings in here, but also mixed with other artists that we license with. All kinds of different inspired by stuff. Betty Page and Bela Lugosi's in there too. Sol Rock is an artist out of South America that he creates work for us. So you can see we love a lot of vintage monsters and
Sure.
the sideshow stuff we're inspired by, old TV shows,
Incredible stuff.
Old comic book covers. Yeah, we've also got old magazine covers, all kinds of stuff. So you can have fun scrolling, you can spend a couple hours probably going through all of our graphics and fun visuals that we have. A lot of spook show. I don't know if you're familiar with those, old spook show or burlesque show posters, stuff like that. We do. So you can kind of
I'm also seeing a lot of things that I see floating around is certain crowds and certain genres. One of which being like the hot rod crowd, with cars and stuff. A lot of the stuff that I see,
we started when Retro started. We licensed with General Motors and Ford. We were using their old vintage ads and logos. We went to I don't know if you're familiar with Viva Las Vegas, the Rockabilly Weekend. That's every Easter coming up here next weekend. We did that for 15, 16 years. We vended there.
Wow.
Selling lots of car stuff. I'd be out at the car show slinging stuff all weekend. If you haven't been, it's one of the largest car shows in the U.S. And if you dig rockabilly music, it is rockabilly music going for 4 days straight every Easter weekend. So we were doing a lot of car show, a lot of rockabilly, and then we sprung into burlesque and pinup, and horror, and then tiki. All those kind of genres all cross over. There's people that are into hot rods and tiki. There's people into rockabilly and hot rods. There's girls that are into burlesque and they're into pinup and they're into the rockabilly. It's so we kind of got into that world, and we kind of dig it, and it just kind of kept growing and blooming from there. And that's kind of our audience. They found us. Our customers are great. They're a lot of them are super fans that come back and keep buying from us and send us pictures of where they put our stuff up and how they use it. And I mean, that's the most fun part of the job, is literally making people happy with your product. You know,
Oh, sure.
we're not the cable company, we're not the phone company, we're not something you have to have. What we make is stuff when you have some extra money or you want to give it as a gift. It's fun stuff that puts a smile on your face or a smile on your friend's face. You know, it's all about uplifting and having fun is what this product's all about.
Very cool. And I have to say, another crowd that as we sit and go through uh, some of your things you have up here for sale, the other crowd that I'm seeing really making a comeback, and this harks back to me being in high school, and a bit of a metalhead at the time, was the patches on the jean jackets.
Oh yeah,
Let me tell
yeah,
you something. I have a 20-year-old son, and
yeah,
he and his buddies are trying to track down websites that they can find these patches that we used to put on our Levi jean jackets back in the 1980s. And
yeah.
these guys are going gaga over this stuff. They're trying to order them. They can't find this, whether it's band patches, whether it's patches, different symbolic stuff. Some of the things that I'm seeing here, I'm already going. I got to go show this to my son because he's going to be trying to track some of these down now. So it's
Good.
interesting. You know, a lot of things that we're talking about are things that we experience, kind of coming
Totally.
back around now with the next generation of kids. So very cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I hear you. Yeah, the jean jacket thing. I got one just a couple years ago. All of a sudden, I was hearing, "Oh, these are coming back." I didn't realize. I just thought, "Oh, wow, I haven't seen a jean jacket in a long time. This is cool."
Yeah.
And yeah, just what you're saying. You know, people are putting patches on all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, and everything is cyclical. You know, things kind of come in and out and come back around. 10 years, 15 years later, you know, it comes back.
Without a doubt. Awesome. Very cool.
Thank you.
Yeah. Very cool. Yeah. Well, we are really excited to, really excited to see one of these sharks. I think I'm gonna post your website up on our pages when we wrap up here for people to get on. So you guys at home, so Retro Go Go. Now you guys have a Facebook presence as well as a website. Is that right?
Yeah, we're on Instagram and we're on Facebook. Yeah, absolutely. You can follow us on there, and you can also sign up for. If you go to Retro Go Go, you can sign up for our email blast, which is usually about once a week, and that's where you'll
Okay.
see new stuff that we're working on, whatever news coming or sales, you name it, all kinds of stuff. And then Instagram and Facebook. Sometimes it's products, sometimes it's fun videos from around the office, sometimes it's just goofy stuff we see that we dig. We'll post that too. So yeah,
Sure.
follow us on Facebook or Instagram.
What is the
Awesome.
timetable between concept and release? I guess is the word.
Concept. I mean, from initial idea, it's probably a few months to take a sketch to get it to sample, and then from sample and we introduce it and say, hey, this is coming. It's probably about 6 months. There's probably a few months in there of the actual production. Then it's got to ship. It takes a good month and a half. So a good rule of thumb usually is about 6 months. Sometimes it can be a little less than that. But too, depending on the time of year, if we're getting stuff in, you know, around that August, September, while the ports are jam packed because everybody's getting in their Christmas and, you know, Halloween stuff all at the same time, and can take a little longer for us to get our stuff.
And do you judge when you post, like, you know, this is coming? Do you post or judge by the response whether or not to actually go forward with the product, or once you say it's coming, it's coming?
No, it's usually if we've gone so far into sampling, we're going to go for it. We're going to do it. You know, maybe other businesses would pull back, or like a Kickstarter, you might not do it if you don't have the money. But you know, a lot of this stuff is low runs. You know, we'll do 700 or 800 pieces. The same thing with like the shark here that we're talking about. That's less than 800 pieces. So, you know, we've got thousands of people that buy from us. So, you know, we feel pretty safe that we'll get through this in a few months. They'll sell out. If it really sells out fast, like the Hula Betty is darn near sold out before we even get her in, then that may mean, hey, let's go right back into reorder. you know. So the public kind of tells you, boy, we really love this. This is really hot, or you know, you're going to sit on it a while and it'll move out, and you know, everything eventually sells out. Just some of it takes a little longer than others.
Well, dear gosh, Hula Betty, Americans love their cars. How many dashboards have you seen that sucker on over the years? I mean, come on, really? You know?
Yeah,
How
yeah.
many
Those
movies have you seen it on dashboards on cars?
Yes. Well, they used to be super popular. You know, they used to come with a magnet on the bottom because, as you know, old cars, they had steel
Steel
dashboards.
dashes.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah. You know, you didn't want to get into an accident with that in front of you. So now, I mean, you'd have to adhere it with, you know, double sponge tape or something like that. So there's no magnet on it. But yeah, they were ubiquitous. You know, they were all over the place. And now, because they were everywhere, they're highly collectible. If you can find a vintage Hula Girl from the 50s or 60s, they'll set you back 80, 90, $100, maybe more.
Yeah. Wow. Holy cow. Really?
Yeah. Yeah. I got a friend who his parents owned a junkyard. He said when he was a kid, him and his friends would play in the junkyard, and they used to find Hula Girls, pop them apart, you know, throw them at each other. You know, he said hundreds of them they destroyed. So that's probably why there's not that many of them out there.
I mean, yeah. I mean, that's, you know, that's so retrospective. You know, there's those things that you talk about, like, I don't know, like we were kids, like destroying Star Wars action figures, like the guys that worked on Indian motorcycles after World War II. The first thing they did was rip all the brand new fenders off and threw them in a junk pile in the back. And now the hardest thing to find is an original damn fender from an Indian motorcycle. So, you know, it's
Oh my God. Yeah.
so retrospective, you know?
Yeah, that's what makes everything collectible, is nobody saved it. You know, that's you want to find value. You know, it's not in something that they make a million of and say it's collectible. Everybody's hanging on to it. You know, it's that stuff, like you said, the fenders, the Hula Girls, the stuff the ephemera nobody thought, like movie posters, nobody thought to save them. They were, you know, a disposable thing to advertise the movie, and often hung out in the rain and throw them in the garbage, you know.
Me. I got thousands of them. Yeah.
What's that? Movie posters?
Yeah.
Yeah, you collect movie posters too? Me too.
My first job at a movie theater, I got hired in 1976. And my first job, I was taken upstairs and opened a big closet that were just piled with one sheets. And I was told to get rid of them.
Oh my God.
I took them home.
Oh, good.
And I just started from there.
Wow.
And I did 20 years doing marketing in the theater business. So yeah.
Wow. Did you save all those? Did you save most of the ones you brought home when you were a kid?
Yeah, I took a bunch to school and gave them to friends and stuff. But yeah, I saved.
Were they what era were they mostly 70s, or do they go back?
Yeah, wow. Early 70s up to 76.
Wow. Very cool. Very cool. And you still collect? You still keep track out, or yeah?
Don't tell my wife. She's not watching tonight. Don't tell my wife.
As I've gotten older and my collection's gotten large enough, I'm much more selective about what I want to get. You know.
Sure.
If I bring something into the house, I have to get rid of two things.
Okay.
So
is
thank God
I have
a storage facility. So
no. Only if they see it, though, right?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
It never happened, right?
You gotta
get
home
their house with all those characters, honey. That's been there. I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah.
You took my line right. That's my line always. Oh, I've had that forever. What?
Oh, you don't remember that?
I had that before I met you.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah, that
incredible.
Sounds very familiar. Very familiar. Yeah. Well, we got to have our collections. It's better than doing drugs, is what I always say.
That's right.
What do you want me to do? You want me to be a drug addict, or you want me to collect movie posters?
Exactly.
It's all an entertainment fee, the way I look at it. And you know what? And that's, you know, I say too, I'm like, you know, it's better than gambling, because no matter what, I'm bringing something home. You know, whether I lost my ass on what I paid for something or not, I'm bringing it home. You know. Right.
And I like to believe it has intrinsic value. It's like another savings account, right? It's sitting there waiting for me to sell it. So Yeah.
That's what I say, but it's just like, so when are you going to sell it? I'm starting.
Yeah, are you starting to let some stuff go?
Yeah.
Or eBay or
I just used to do collector shows around here.
okay. You're out east, New York?
Kansas City.
Oh, Kansas City. Okay. All right. Cool.
Very nice, very nice. We got Matt chiming in here. Why buy drugs when you can buy cool collectibles to put on your shelf? That's exactly right. Yeah,
That's right.
Right.
yeah, yeah,
Whatever gets you
yeah.
through, right? So
That's exactly right, and that has really grown. That it has grown tremendously over the last 10 years, amazingly so, all across different groups, different generations. Again, I keep looking back to where like with my kids and stuff, and how much kids that age are collecting these types of things too. And I mean, just in the last handful of years, you're seeing an awful lot of this. But what I like is we're seeing like originality here. This is what's really cool.
yeah.
Even like looking at those blankets, I didn't realize it was the actual poster art that you're putting into a blanket, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very impressive.
Yeah, and the reproduction is really great. You can read the fine print on it and everything. I didn't think they could do it, but they did it. Yeah, it's very cool.
Wow,
Yeah.
awesome, very cool. Well, all right, guys, we want to, Doug. I want to thank you an awful lot for going on here and showcasing this. And
Thank you.
we'll be putting the website up for you guys at home. Check him out, and don't forget promo code he has up for us, just for us down at the bottom, guys. So definitely check it out, and definitely check him out. And look him up and look at some of the products. So Jaws related or not, Jaws happens to be the bonus here, obviously with us, but a lot of really cool stuff there. And he even has it listed down to the different licensing that they carry. So even if some people are Universal Hounds, some people, certain things they really get into, it's all there. So get on the website, check it out, have some fun with it. Hey, whether you think it or not, Christmas is not that far off, people. So
That's what I always say.
Stocking those things up.
January 1st, Christmas is not very far away.
That's right.
And keep an eye on our pages and Amity Jaws Group, Jaws Paradise. Doug very kindly gave us 3 of the ornaments to give away. I'll be posting that either tonight or tomorrow. We'll do a giveaway and
very cool. Very nice.
Well, awesome. Thank you guys. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, great having you on. It was a lot of fun. Love checking out the stuff and love hearing a little bit of what drives you. Very cool.
Yeah, the hour flew by. So thanks for having us. Really appreciate it.
Certainly. And if you find a Man from U.N.C.L. transistor radio that turns into a rifle, that was my favorite toy as a kid. I'd snap that up in a heartbeat. I'd take everything out of my house if I could get that.
Wow, and I've got a friend who had a Man from U.N.C.L. collection I'm sure it was in there because he had everything, but he let it all go, traded it in for horror monster stuff. So, but I'll keep my eye out.
Thank you. I used to get in trouble in school because I'd get my pen and go, open channel D.
All right.
Doug, thank you again.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, appreciate it. All right. Very nice. So we are going to jump into a little bit more information that we have here regarding something that we talked about just recently, guys, and that is the shark is broken. So let me pull that up here. We talked about last week about the fact that the shark is broken is coming to Amity Island, aka Martha's Vineyard.
Yep.
And is also coming to the Cape. Now there was a little bit of kind of confusion as far as was it coming to the Cape or was it not coming to the Cape, Mike? Can you kind of
it was supposed to open in Hyannis, but they could not get a permit. The gentleman, one of the producers, has movie theaters there, and he was trying to get it to in one of the theaters, and they couldn't get the permit or do the necessary construction permits. So when we last talked about this, we had to say, the show was canceled. But then last night, um, a good friend of mine out in Boston sent me a link, and he said show's playing on the Cape, and I said, well, no, I was told it wasn't, and but we clarified it is playing in Beverly, Massachusetts, at the North Shore Music Theater. So it will be there in the first part of May. So yeah, so
Very awesome.
feel free to get your tickets there, or if you're going to be on the Vineyard, that's how cool to spend the 4th of July. First off on Martha's Vineyard, and then secondly to see the show.
Yeah.
I am not aware of casting. I don't think Ian Shaw is going to be there because he's still touring in England. But the Vineyard always has top-notch productions, and they get great they get great talent. Both there on the island, and then they come over from New York and Boston. So they'll have a great time. So
Yeah, I wouldn't hesitate to go see it regardless of who the cast is. I caught it up in New York City, and the show is simply amazing. I mean, it really is. Everything there's comedy, there's some dramatic scenes, and there's just some scenes that are just so incredibly cool and powerful. It just draw you right back into the film. And I know for a fact, just the set itself. When I was there, was blown away and overtaken by the set. The set designer was such a stickler that it is literally a cutaway of the Orca. And when I say it's a cutaway of the Orca, it looks like the Orca, went through a pretty big mill with a chainsaw and laid it down. And there are even production pieces from the movie that are in the boat. Not to give a spoiler away, but there's a yellow barrel that sits in the front, and that is a production barrel
yeah.
from Jaws. Made its way in there. So, just a brilliant and amazing show. Like I said, we went up it was last year, up to New York City to see it. And if you have a chance, regardless of who the cast is, I can't imagine it's going to be a bad cast. Get yourselves up there and check it out. It's going to be in Cape Cod. So it's going to be in Martha's Vineyard. Martha's Vineyard, as you can see there, it's going to be starting in July, in early July up there.
And the Vineyard production is directed by Guy Masterson, who directed the original production, and their set design is by the original set designer.
Yeah.
So it's not just people putting on a show in a barn. It's going to be
major production going on there. Yeah. So very cool. And if you guys are interested, let me see here. There was a write up, and there's some information, contact information, stuff like that, I believe, regarding it on, I think it's the Vineyard Gazette's site. Let me pull it up here and see if that's what it is. I'm almost positive that's what we're looking at. Yeah, the actual article and everything is here in the Vineyard Gazette. Gives you a little bit of background about it, and give you a little bit of a heads up as to when it's taking place and where it's going to take place. I don't know that there's ticket information up yet as far as buying seats. I'm not 100% sure, but I do know that that there's a lot of information. In fact, here it's even going into how many seats are available on Martha's Vineyard, and talking about the Orca set piece and everything else. So definitely something that you want to check out. Yeah, here it is. Up that gives dates for Beverly. Yeah, Beverly. Yeah, May 2nd to 11th. You said, Mike.
Yeah.
Before it heads over to the island there in July. So very cool information. And my gosh, to go and capture that on the island, it's just kind of bringing one more thing home again. It's bigger than going and seeing Jaws in Edgartown.
For and as we get closer to the show opening there, we will have the producers on the show to talk about it.
We'll have these guys on and give us a little more scoop and information, and get some information out when we have those guys on regarding the show. And hopefully by then, I would imagine we'll have ticket information and things of that nature too. So if you get a chance, go see it. If you've already seen it, go see it again, because you might, I don't know, you might see something and might notice something a little different. I've talked to a handful of people that have gone and seen the show since it first came out, even over in the UK, and then went back for different shows at different times, and said, they're very true to the script, but it's interesting to see how maybe some little subtleties kind of change and maybe add a little bit of time. So it'd be kind of interesting perspective on things. So very cool. Very cool. Yeah. Doug, have you, I know you're still kind of hanging out with us, which is great. Have you know any information about this at all?
No,
Familiar with the play at all?
I've certainly heard about it with Ian Shaw and seen
Sure.
clips, and
Hmm.
God, I'd love to see it, but have not been in New York or London to catch it. But yeah,
Sure.
I would love to take this in.
Yeah. 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 Very cool.
Get that deal with the museum and with the gift shop, and just
There you go.
personally, you'll have to personally hand deliver the
Yes,
ornament.
come
And
out with a
while
ship.
you're there,
Yes, set up in the lobby and also sell them there.
yeah,
That's exactly right. That'd be the way to go too. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, I like it. I like it. I like how you're thinking.
Very cool.
Well, I just wanted to say, hey, send me a link to the show here, and we'll post it on Retro's Instagram and Facebook to check it out.
certainly.
So,
Oh, absolutely. You know what? As soon as we're done, I'll make sure I get one over to you.
that'd be
I'll
great.
just shoot over to our email correspondence. You can get up, and yeah, awesome. I'd love to share that out. Sure.
Awesome.
And like I said, we'll definitely get your website up on the pages here when we wrap up here. So
All right. Thank you.
very cool.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
I will head out now. So thanks, guys, again. See you later.
Hey, appreciate you spending time with us. Thanks, bud.
Glad to do it. Take care.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Take care. All right. Very cool. Nice. Yeah. A lot of things going on. A lot of things kind of pop up. I feel like every week I turn around and I'm hearing about something else or I'm seeing something else. And to be honest with you, I want to say that's what I'm hopeful for. You know, it's we're just gaining traction and there's more and more going on and you know, people are popping some different things up that they're seeing. Some things still in the making. Some things definitely up and running and official and production. You know, designing stuff. I'm seeing posters. I'm seeing some new different shirts out in here. You know, some different merchandise out there that's coming out. You know, just like what we took a look at tonight. So keep your eyes out there, and not just that, but if you see something floating around out there, post it up on the pages. I mean, honestly, that's where I found out most of my information. Is someone gets on one day and says, "Hey, check this out. Hey, check that out. You know, did you see this? You know, I just saw that thing
Send us a message.
about
Yeah, definitely.
yeah." Put it out there for us because you know, I mean, you guys are the eyes and ears of what's going on out there right now. You know, I hop on there, and to be honest with you, I don't do a ton of Facebook outside of our pages. I get on there, and that's my news. That's telling me what's going on. In the world, particularly in our world as well, which is you know my number one interest. So that's why we're on there all the time. So yeah, hop on there and post stuff up. If you have any information,
First two guests announced for SharkCon, Richard Dreyfuss.
I saw that.
And Jeff Voorhees.
Yeah. So Richard and Jeff this summer at SharkCon. SharkCon, what is it? SharkCon
And me.
13?
Come see me.
Yes, Mike will definitely be there again. I've definitely got to stop back there and see those guys and stop in and see Mike and pick up a book, have Mike sign it.
Come for the book. Stay for Dreyfuss. Yeah, there you go.
That's exactly right. And catch some of the live show. There's always some good live talks out of there. I caught a couple of them last year myself when Jen and I were there. So we had really cool, really good time. Great way to spend the weekend too. Yeah, awesome. All right. Well, I think that's kind of where we're at. I think that's what we have for the evening.
Nice tidy 1 hour show. I like that.
You know what? It's been a bit of a rarity lately, but been a lot of stuff we've been covering, so that's the way it goes. But it's been good. So awesome.
No.
All right. So guys, we're gonna pump the brakes right there, but keep your ears out there because there's a bunch of things in the making. There's a bunch of guests we're kind of lining up and things we have in the works that we'll be kind of letting you know as we go. Speaking of which, next week we're going to have a gentleman by the name of Court, who's from the Michigan area, same as Doug was, and he's going to be coming on and he's going to be showing us his replica cabin of the Orca that he built. And if you do any snooping around on YouTube, you'll actually find some of the videos of him building it while he was making different parts of it. It is an amazing one-to-one replica cabin, and I met with him and talked to him, and he's sitting in it. And you think it's 75, and you're sitting in there with him. It is absolutely amazing. He's going to join us next week, talk about it. He's probably going to be broadcasting from the Orca. and learn a little bit about that. And he's going to be joining us on the island. He's going to be there doing a show at the museum on the 23rd of June. So
Monday.
something to keep in mind. You guys will be able to go. You'll be able to check it out. And we're coordinating that we can meet with him there. Who knows? Maybe end up doing a show from there or on there. We'll see. But he's going to be on next week. So tune in next week and catch us there, and some other things going on in the near future. Definitely Jaws related, definitely shark related. So just keep your eyes on the site. And again, if you see something posted up there, and that's it. We're going to kind of wrap it up right there. Keep it kind of sweet and to that hour, and good to go. So I want to thank you guys for coming on. Another really good night with Mike and I there, and Doug hanging out with us. So we'll go fins up with you guys, and we'll let Quint take us out once again, as we always do. Here we go.
Farewell and adieu to you fair Spanish ladies. Farewell and adieu, you ladies of Spain. For we've received orders for to sail back to Boston. And so nevermore shall we see you again.
Have a good one, guys.
Right.